Hi, I'm LeMay. I'm an alcoholic, and my sobriety date is January 2nd of 97. And I wanted to thank everybody for coming out to hear my story. So, I was born in Houston, Texas, and lived in a little town east of Houston, Galena Park, and that's where I grew up at. I was raised by my mom and my grandmother mostly. I never got to know who my real father was because him and my mom divorced when I was still an infant because he would hit her. There's not a lot of positive stuff I heard about my father, and he was a graduate of A&M College. I would find out like 4 or 5 years ago when a lady did my family tree that my father grew up in Wortham, Texas, right down the road from here, and that his father was, I'm understanding, quite a piece of work, that he was pretty mean and rigid. So anyway, I was kind of glad that my mom wasn't going to go for no beatings and that she did divorce him. So my grandmother and mom were pretty independent women. My mom was real slow-tempered and studious. She was good about helping me with homework. My grandmother was kind of quick-tempered, and man, she didn't play. I can't really stand up here and say that I got abused and I got beat because that just didn't happen. I did get disciplined with a switch or a belt. A lot of times stood in the corner, that would be their time out for me. And I would have quite an entertaining time in the corner. I was the only child. So, yeah, while I'm sitting in the corner, I had this old set of real keys, and I find a light socket to play with, and I liked playing cars, so I stick the key in the light socket. Yeah, I didn't do that no more. There's some things I only did one time, and I didn't do it no more. Okay. Going to school, I liked going to school. I liked learning, and I was somewhat athletic, but I really liked classes. I did get picked on a little bit because I was little and because I had an overbite. So about second or third grade, while I was walking home from school with my raincoat and my little galoshes, I didn't live far, and these two fellas that walked home the same way, they stretched their raincoat in between them, and I knew what was going to happen. I started running. I didn't take the galoshes off, so I couldn't get out of the way. They clotheslined me down in the sidewalk, and I think I'd had about enough by that point. And I thought, this stuff's just going to keep on and keep on. And, I got picked on about my little lunch pail. Most all the little girls, Barbie was a big thing. Everybody had a Barbie lunch kit. I liked Daniel Boone. So I had a Daniel Boone lunch kit, and it was metal. So I ran down the sidewalk and I jumped on the biggest boy's back and I beat him in the head with my metal lunchbox. He didn't come to school the next day because he had to go get stitches in his head. The picking kind of stopped for a little while after that, and I was glad. Going to junior high was a whole nother world. Back then, a year or two before, the elementary school ended at 6th grade. And I remember one day, it was when integration had happened, and we all got along just fine. I remember one day we're sitting at the class that's near one of the doors, and the janitor come around and was chaining the inside of the doors locked, and they announced that they were calling some of our people to come get us, or that if however we got home, we needed to go straight home. What they didn't say was that there was a riot going on at the high school that was about 8, 9, 10 blocks away from where we were. It was on the news. I didn't quite get it. Going to junior high, whew, man. That was a different world. People, guys mostly, went down the hallway in packs, and girls too. It was kind of a scary time because you never knew what was going to happen. And I just kind of kept to myself. I didn't bother nobody. There were some girls I hung out with. So I was doing things I wasn't supposed to even before junior high. Like I took up smoking, and they didn't regulate it so much. When you go to the store, I'd go hunt Coke bottles, get the money, and go get me a pack of smokes out of the machine. And I didn't go home with them, you know. I hid them in an abandoned house around the block from me. And we did the same kind of stuff as kids, like what grown folks do in other situations. Of kids would be outside playing, and that if one of our parents was coming around the block for whoever was up in the abandoned house having him a cigarette, they would holler, so-and-so's mama's coming down the block, so we could get out of the house. That was fun. Okay, so I did different little jobs while I was growing up, mowing lawns, hunting Coke bottles, babysitting. And the people I babysat for, I was about 14. And their mom and dad drank and smoked weed. They'd have some beer in the icebox. And they would go in the bedroom to smoke their weed, but I mean, I could smell it. I didn't know what it was, but I knew they was doing it. I'm like, y'all need to come out of the bedroom. I know y'all are smoking weed up in there. Anyway, they eventually didn't, so I did a little bit of that. My drinking and drugging was a little sporadic. I remember going with them on Ladies Drink Free night on Wednesdays, which was a school night, and I would tell my folks I'm babysitting. So I just tell them, you know, they're going out and I'll be home whenever they get back, which was kind of the truth. I like that. So nobody back then regulated very much in the bars about drinking and being underage. So I was doing that pretty much on any Wednesday night. I really liked it a whole lot. So when I was about 18, 19, I met my first husband. We had a daughter in 1978, and that ended it lasted about a year, year and a half, and we divorced. He didn't drink or drug. I wasn't doing too much of that, any of that back then, but he liked to fight, and it was kind of puzzling to me. The first time that I remember him hitting me was when I was like a month off from having our daughter, and I was spending the night at a girlfriend's house, which wasn't far from where his mom and dad lived, and he was to come by and pick me up when he got off from shift work that morning. And I sat up in front of their great big window waiting, and I never seen the car. So he calls and he says, I came by to pick you up. Why didn't you come out? And he told me he was at his mom and dad's. So he told me he wasn't coming to get me, and that if I wanted to ride home, I needed to walk my behind over there. So I walk over there, and it's cold and raining. It's December. When he answered the door at his mama's house, I don't remember what was said, and I said something smart. You know I said something smart. And he slapped me so hard, I seen stars. And his mom kind of fussed at him a little bit like, hey, you're going to make her go into labor. So after we would get home, I told him, you can have that one, that's a free one for you. But after I have our child, if you want to hit me, I'm going to fight you back. Anyway, that did come to pass. And I left. I packed up some clothes and the baby and called some friends. They come got me, and I started divorcing. I worked 2 jobs. One of them was in a bar, and the other one was driving around picking up ads and delivering newspapers from downtown Houston to way west of downtown Houston. And one morning, well, it wasn't morning, it was getting close to afternoon, and I wasn't doing much of anything then. I fell asleep at a stop sign. The person in the car behind me come over and tapped me on my arm, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm at a stop sign. I'm sorry. So I enjoyed working at the bar. That was a good time. And I made plenty of money. And I heard a friend of mine talking about working in this topless bar and how much money she was making. So I quit the bar and I went to the topless place, which no longer exists. It was called the Carousel on I-45 in Houston. And I did make the rest of the money I needed to pay for my divorce. I was real happy about that. I went back to the job at the bar after that. And after work at 2 o'clock in the morning, when everybody got off at the bar, we would go to somebody's house and play cards, drink, and do whatever was there. Lots of other things were there. So I'm tootling along, having a good time. I'm working a lot and spending my money. I went to school and became a nurse, LVN, and things started kind of picking up when I got that job. I wasn't interested in the prescription drugs. For whatever reason, doing street drugs was where I went along with my drinking. I don't recall ever being without alcohol. And the thing I found out is I could stay awake a long time doing all these other things. And there was a variety of them. Before I get to the LVN school, I was faced with some other things. By then, I've already married a second time and I have a son. And this guy is one of us, but I don't know that back then. And things weren't real good. I became real afraid of him, even though he never laid a hand on me. Things he would do terrified me. He fancied himself like a judo or karate fella, and he had real swords that he would bring out into the living room. And, by this time, my daughter's like 2 years old, and she's running around in the house. And I was just terrified that she might get hit by one of them. There was other things he would do, like I wouldn't give him my car keys to drive my car when he would be drunk. And he was not a fun drunk. One day he come home from work and was plastered, and I had dinner ready. I gave him the food, and he passed out in his plate of food. And of course I had something smart to say, never short of something smart to say. And I'm like, are you going to eat that or use it for a pillow? And he picked the plate up and threw it at me. So not long after that, I have a little boy. And he had my car. He went to his mom's bar and treated everybody. He found the money that I had been saving to get stuff for the baby for when I got home. He found that money and went and treated everybody at the bar. So we had this argument one day, and he wants my car keys, and I won't give him the car keys. So he goes out to the car, and he pulls off the wire that goes from the coil. Or no, I took the wire off that went from the coil to the distributor, thinking I'm being smart. He can't start it even if he does get the keys. He did get the keys. And when he went out to start the car, instead of just, forgetting about it and going on, do something else, he raised the hood up and seen that that's what was wrong. And so he pulled all the rest of the wires off and threw them over the fence. So I left that one. That was not a fun thing. I remember everything that he helped me pack. And his way of helping me pack was breaking up everything, throwing it on the floor out of the closet, and just breaking up stuff. So now I leave, and I have a little boy that I'm holding in my arms and my daughter. So I get up with this other fella, and this was the longest and most sickest relationship from about 1981 or 82 to 91. Okay, so this is an important part. When I got with the next guy, we weren't doing so good, and I had these two little children. And I got to thinking about me growing up without a father, and I thought real hard on that. My aunt and uncle that live in Florida had visited, and they said to me, why don't you let us adopt your children? And I'm like, no, I can do this because I'm going by my mom. She didn't remarry until I was 11. I got this. I can do this. But my mom had a skill. I did not. I wasn't a nurse yet. And I had started looking for work. I looked at least 6 months or more, and I wasn't getting no work. And that's where I went to thinking about the kids. And I was not with anybody. And so I thought, I would like for my two kids to have a mom and a dad. that both of those things are really important, and I want them to have that. So I called my aunt and uncle and I said, come get them. You can adopt them. And they did. So that was something that I carried, and I started hating on myself. I didn't know I was hating on myself, but I was thinking, well, this is just great, that I can't even be a mama, and that what I did was fail at being a mama. And this was eating me up. I mean, then the thing about a father, what I used to wonder as a kid, getting 7, 8, 9 years old, is why is it I don't know my father? Is there something the matter with me why I don't get no phone call, I don't see him? There was never no communication, no visit, no birthday card, no anything. And I used to wonder, is it because I wasn't a boy? So I kind of went tomboyish at the time. Most anything a boy could do, I could do just as good, including fight. Not a problem. So those were two great big things. And I become a nurse. I had some good times as a nurse. I loved what I did. And I got like a scholarship thing to get to go to nursing school. And so I did that for a number of years. So in the meanwhile, my disease is starting to get a little harsh. And I've added all these other things into my living. And pretty soon, it's getting to where I'm calling off of work, making up whatever. I'm starting to lose weight. I'm starting to look bad. I'm hawking things at the house. The husband that I was with, the one that I was with for 10 years, the longest and the sickest relationship I had, we were both doing that. And I remember my job was real short-handed, and it was downtown Houston, and I worked with ventilator trach patients at this private facility. And they asked me, could I do 4 doubles in a row? And I said, okay. I said, the only thing, I lived 30 miles from downtown Houston in the east side of Baytown. And I said, is it okay for me to spend the night at the job? And they said, yes, because we need you that bad. They had empty rooms. So I did that, and I didn't do anything. I was detoxing at work. And the first day or so was real tough. I hadn't ate or drank, and I'm pushing the medicine cart, and I feel like I'm going to pass out. But I don't. So after the 4 doubles in a row, I go home. I'm going to be off for 2 or 3 days. And I tell the husband, you know, I haven't drank or done anything for 4 days in a row. Now, I don't know nothing about no AA yet. And he says to me, well, you want to go get us something? And I'm like, yeah. So straight to the liquor store I go, and over in a part of town to get whatever. And I come back and it's all on again. So this is starting to get real chronic. So my job tries to help me. They know something's wrong. And they tell me, we're going to do some blood tests. We think you're sick. There was a lady working there that was from my first nursing job that knew me when I first started. And she says to me, we think you might have HIV or AIDS. That's how sickly I looked from the amount of weight I lost and not eating and not drinking. And I'm like, okay. So I knew alcohol and drug testing was going to be in that, and so I just owned it. And I said, I've been doing a lot of stuff, a whole lot of stuff. I drink, and I don't stop drinking. I do coke, meth, weed, whatever. And they started trying to help me to find a place to go to. And it was a place called the Shoulders downtown where you could be inpatient for 10 days. They put me on a waiting list. In the meanwhile, I'm at home. I'm not at work no more. And they gave me a date and a time to show up. My next door neighbor was also a nurse. We had worked together at different places. And he was so happy I was getting help. And he says, I'll help you get there. So the day comes, I go knock on his door, and he don't answer. And I wasn't realizing then. I walked around his little trailer, beating all around his trailer, screaming his name to please get up. I needed to be at the Shoulders. You said you would give me a ride. There was not a peep. I knew he was home. He was passed out drunk, because that's what we did. And so I go back home, I cry for a few minutes, and then I proceed to go get a bottle and some more of whatever. Okay, so I keep on going until I have this crack-induced heart attack. And I was out like on a road where there wasn't anything with somebody, and they started leaving where we were to take me back home. And I was telling them, you need to stop the car. I need to get out and lay down. And they're like, oh no, you're not fixing to die in my car. They took me home, and I couldn't stand up to walk in the house because I couldn't get my breath. My chest felt like it was crushing me. And I went in. My nephew was there, and he called 911. And right after that phone call, somebody else was calling the house to check on me to see did I need some more alcohol and drugs. And the nephew answered, and he says, no, she's unavailable right now. The hospital trip was not fun. The ambulance people didn't know I was a nurse, and they gave me some nitroglycerin under my tongue to try to stop the chest pain, and it didn't work. They got me to the ER, and I got my mouth wide open, gasping for air. And people in the ER ain't real fond of somebody coming in that's been doing too much alcohol and drugs. So the nurse that came over to me to take my temperature wants to take my temperature orally, and I can't hold the thermometer in my mouth because I'm trying to breathe. And the thermometer just falls out of my mouth, and tears is running down my face because I figure I'm fixing to die, and I can't say nothing, and I can't do nothing. And he says, refused temperature. And, they kept me overnight for observation. And that husband I was with had left. He left for his own preservation. He had mentioned to me one day, do you think we ought to slow down or stop a little bit? And I'm like, oh, you can stop if you want to, but I'm not. He left. And, I was such the victim. How could you leave me? and all of that. Anyway, I wound up going to treatment. And they hauled us around to a lot of different AA meetings. To fast forward a little bit, in 91, I didn't stay clean and sober. That would have been my first sobriety date. In 93, I didn't stay clean and sober. I kept running in and out of AA because I'm thinking I can do this. But I'm not doing nothing AA says. I'm not getting a sponsor. I make meetings, so what if I made meetings? I wasn't taking in the essence of what AA is talking about. This thing that was wrong with me has to do with spiritual warfare. That's exactly what it is. For me, it is. And that part of this is it works by obsession, compulsion, and spiritual malady. I didn't get the spiritual malady part at all. I get to a point where I wished myself dead because I am useless, I am hopeless, I don't work no more, I don't do nothing no more. That's a real hard place to be when you don't get your wish. I'm real grateful that God didn't let me have my way. So, I'm going to fast forward to 1997. I've been doing a lot of things. I get arrested a lot. I got arrested 9 times for a variety of different little things, different forms of stealing, turning tricks, possessions, about 2 or 3 weeks apart of whatever I had on me. And being locked up didn't stop me. Having people that loved me talking to me about how I was didn't stop me. The book talks about all them things. It talks about frothy emotional appeal, and this comes from people that love me. Even some co-workers that are saying, if you don't stop, you're going to die. That don't stop me. I'm wishing to be that way, and I'm confused as to why I haven't died. Are telling me you're going to get locked up if you don't stop. What this disease did to me was remove my ability to care about anything, about anybody, including myself. So, 1997, I wound up back at my mama's house. She's in bed asleep. I finish off what I have, and I start detoxing again. I just laid down in the floor by the heater and stayed there for a while. I didn't go lay down in the bed. There was a bed for me to lay in. I thought I might shake right out of the bed. So I thought, well, the floor's a safe place. I won't shake out of it. I had some legal problems, and there wasn't nothing I could do about that at that time. After detoxing, I found out there was an AA group about 7 blocks from where I lived, and I started walking there. They had a noon meeting there and an 8 p.m. meeting back then. I got my first sponsor there, and she remained my sponsor for quite a long time until not long ago I got Miss Stephanie Campbell as my sponsor here. There was a lot of patience that my sponsor had with me. Yeah. At first, in them times where I was running in and out, I thought, all I have to do is get a job. all I have to do is have a vehicle. Well, I got them things, and it didn't make no difference because of spiritual malady. There was nothing I was doing about that. There was nothing I had done with all the wreckage I had created. It wasn't so much about what everybody did to me. I was my own worst enemy, and couldn't nobody do me bad as I did me. I wouldn't let LeMay have no break. I began to believe lies like, I'm no good, I'll never amount to anything, I will die this way, I am unforgivable, and I am unlovable. It was like, nobody told me this, y'all. This is what I thought. And could nobody remove that from me? I would have to be the one to let go of those things. My sponsor was wonderful with me. She gave me some direction, and I was ready. So it's 1997, and she tells me I want a daily phone call, and I said, yes, ma'am. She says, we're going to meet regularly and go over things. And I'm like, yes, ma'am. She says, we're not doing step work right now because you need to dry out for a while and just do some daily living things, which I was terrified about everything. The first job I got, I don't have no license no more, no LVN license. I run the gauntlet on that. Nursing board took it. So they suspended me twice and then revoked the LVN license, which, I don't care. So I just put that out of my head. That wasn't going to be a thing I would ever do. So I did all other kind of jobs. I had a good time doing it. My sponsor kept working with me diligently. I asked her questions. I don't even recall asking my sponsor a question for the first 2 years. I just kind of did what she told me to do. If she told me where she was, I went to meet her. I would call her with the craziest shit going on in my head and go off like a machine gun. And she would ask me, did you pray about that? And most of the time my answer was no. After her telling me that for 6 or 9 months, she started hanging up on me. Well, I knew what that was about. I was going to have to pray first, then talk to her. So I started doing that. As the time's going along, I'm getting a little bit better at getting along with people. I'm not scared to death of them no more. I didn't even hardly talk, associate, or do much with AA folks for the first couple of years of my sobriety, mainly because of the way I felt about me. Like I come up out of the street, but it took a while for the street to get up out of me. So I acted accordingly even in AA, being hateful, being smart aleck. But the one thing I did, I began to listen in the meetings like the dying, because I understood there wasn't something else for me to do. I really didn't know what my purpose was, and that wasn't so much important anymore. Is that there's some purpose for me, and it just wasn't important what the purpose was at the time. I knew that if I didn't follow whatever it is here that AA had for me, I was going to stay as I was. I was getting uncomfortable with the way I was in sobriety, with carrying around the hatefulness, the smart aleckiness. It's because I hadn't let go of a lot of things that were serving to keep me sick. And I sure didn't think I was worthy of any kind of forgiveness. I was the one not forgiving me. It wasn't God not forgiving me. It was LeMay not forgiving me. My sponsor brought it to my attention. She says, you need to quit making other people, places, and things your God. And you need to quit playing God. Well, that didn't compute for a little while. But eventually it began to compute a whole lot. I can't run my own life. Even when I'm clean and sober, I still need direction because of confusion, because of getting afraid. Oh, and I will not forget, I got to have my way. Like a 2-year-old baby. And watch how I act when I don't get my way. You're going to hear all kind of complaining, all kind of justification, all kind of rationalization. That's all well and good. And how did that work for me? I stayed sick for a while in sobriety. I had to be the one to get tired of repeating the same things over and over again with that attitude. I've been told about my attitude nearly all my life. It's not so much of that kind of attitude anymore because it didn't help me to get nowhere. And y'all seem to have the answer here. It was about not just saying that I believe in a God and that there is a God. I have to have help with my living, that I might live my life that like there is a God, instead of giving some cute-ass little lip service about it. It takes a whole lot more than just sitting up somewhere talking about God and how much I believe there's one. Well, if I believe there's one, then most certainly, which I did eventually come to believe, that I was forgivable and that LeMay could forgive LeMay. I could no longer play God over my own life anymore. I quit rationalizing and justifying. There's a piece of the book that talks about that, talking about walking across the bridge of reasoning to the shore of faith. What that means to me is that I have to let go of my fabulous magical thinking and pray for God's direction and wait for him to show me what the direction is instead of working off of my own will. That's been the hardest lesson I have ever learned. It's been a wonderful thing to know I don't have to play God in my own life. I don't have to fit throw because things ain't going my way. I don't like sitting around throwed off. I don't like acting throwed off no more. Most certainly everybody in the room with AA would know when I'm throwed off. I don't hide that. AA is the best thing that ever happened in my life. It helped me to survive LeMay. It brought me back from a place on the inside where I was dying. I just hadn't physically dropped dead yet. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I didn't. I have a good time here in AA. I learn a lot from the ladies that I work with, every single one of them. If I say anything else, I'll just be rambling. Thank you, AA folks, everywhere you are, for helping to recover from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, and helping me to have a life that I never dreamed of having before. Thank you.